Welcome back to Titty's Explainer. So today we're unpacking a centuries-old Bengali folktale to examine a deeply human and honestly pretty intense phenomenon, how poverty tests family bonds. We aren't just recounting some old dusty myth here. We're actually looking at how extreme hardship acts as the ultimate pressure cooker for human relationships. I mean, think about it. How does a family really react when their absolute foundational need for survival is threatened? It really boils down to this. What actually happens when there is absolutely no food left? It's a terrifying thought, right? As you'll see, this narrative isn't just a simple village story with a cute magical ending. It's actually a profound psychological study of starvation, loyalty, and human nature under the most intense stress imaginable. All right, let's dive into part one, the crucible of poverty. Right off the bat, we see this stark night and day contrast between two brothers and their households. On the left, you've got Sabuj's family, living in absolute destitution. Their daily grind literally consists of scraping by on leftover rice and taro root. Yet, they're completely unified. They're self-sacrificing and deeply supportive of one another. Then, on the right, you have his brother Suman's family. Now, they are relatively wealthy, but they are bitter, jealous, and constantly plotting. Suman's family is completely consumed by this toxic fear of losing their superior status. So, while Sobuj's family bonds tightly through their shared suffering, Suman's family is basically rotting from the inside out because of envy. To really put that into perspective, listen to this. After initially complaining about eating leftover rice day after day, Sobuj's young daughter, Tori, realizes the immense pain it causes her father, who feels like he's failing his family. She tells him, "I will never cry for food again. Whenever you give me whatever to eat, I will eat that." It is absolutely heartbreaking. But, it perfectly captures the incredible resilience and emotional maturity that poverty forces onto even the youngest members of a family. When push comes to shove, they're pulling together, not tearing each other apart. Moving right along to section 2, jealousy and sabotage. So Sabuj actually manages to open a small shop to try and pull his family out of starvation. You'd think his brother would be happy for him, right? Wrong. This triggers malicious envy in his brother's house. Suman's wife hatches this incredibly chilling plan. "We cannot let them become richer than us. When everyone is asleep, we will set fire to that shop." I mean, talk about sheer, unadulterated malice. It goes to show us that proximity and blood ties absolutely do not protect you from sabotage when greed and status anxiety get involved. They are literally willing to destroy their own kin just to maintain their twisted sense of superiority. And this builds into an almost insurmountable wave of tragedy. Just look at this timeline. On day 1, Sobuj opens his shop, finally a glimmer of hope. But that very first night, Suman and his wife set it on fire during a storm. Sobuj is trapped inside. He survives, but one side of his body is severely burned and completely paralyzed. Fast forward a few weeks. His wife Rina, who took on a grueling job at a brick kiln just to keep them alive, finds out the kiln is abruptly closing down. And as if that wasn't enough bad luck, the very next morning, a herd of elephants completely tramples and destroys the tiny wheat crop she had managed to plant near their home. It is just a crushing, suffocating sequence of tests piling up on this struggling family. Which brings us to section 3, united against starvation. Now, Rina's response to staring into this abyss is just a relentless series of sacrifices. She goes into full survival mode. To pay for her paralyzed husband's medical bills, she makes the heartbreaking choice to sell their only valuable possession, her beloved cow, Dabali. She takes on that back-breaking manual labor at the local brick kiln we just mentioned. In her incredibly scarce free time, she cultivates an abandoned, rocky plot of land just to grow a tiny handful of wheat for her starving daughter. And when her brother-in-law Suman tries to swoop in and take advantage of Sobuj's paralysis to steal that very plot of land, she fiercely defends it. Rina transforms right before our eyes, going from a passive victim into the fierce, unyielding protector of her family. Let's look at section 4, the final rejection. Okay, so the brick kiln is closed. The elephants have destroyed the wheat. There's literally nothing left. Total starvation forces young Tori and her mother to do the unthinkable, seek help from their extended family. They go to Suman's house, basically begging for just a handful of rice. But Suman's response is ice cold. Get out of here and don't come to our door for anything anymore. It annoys me to see you. Suman's cruel denial of a single meal to his starving, desperate niece represents the complete and total fracture of their family bond. He isn't just rejecting a plea for food, he is entirely rejecting their humanity. You know, poverty is a strange thing. It tests not just the stomach, but the mind. True starvation is the ultimate stress test for family bonds. It strips away all that societal pretense and forces people into a corner where they have to either step up and become fierce protectors like Rena, or reveal their absolute darkest, most selfish colors like Suman. The mask completely falls off. All right, on to section 5, the magic reward. So, from the very last few stalks of wheat they salvaged from that trampled field, Rena attempts to make a simple flatbread for her starving daughter. But the dough transforms into the golden roti. Now, in the context of this folktale, this isn't just some convenient magical plot device. It's actually a metaphorical ultimate test. It's a magical artifact that heavily rewards patient endurance, but utterly destroys anyone consumed by greed. This is where things get wild. As soon as Rena makes it, it becomes this glowing golden roti. When she places it in a clay pot, the pot instantly transforms into solid gold. Like every single pot it touches turns to gold. But the most incredible shift in fortune happens when Rena accidentally trips, dropping the roti directly onto her paralyzed husband, Sobuj. A bright light envelops him, and instantly his paralysis is cured. He can stand, he can move. Their reward is massively proportional to the immense suffering they survived together. Because they stayed unified, their purity of heart allowed the magic to heal them. And finally, section 6, greed's ultimate price. Saman's total inability to just be happy for his brother is exactly what seals his tragic fate. First, he spies on Sobuj's new wealth out of jealousy. Then he actually sneaks in and steals the golden roti out of pure greed. But the moment the roti touches his own pots, the magic reacts to his toxic intent. It turns into a massive swarm of deadly, aggressive bugs. Saman and his wife are entirely consumed and literally erased by them. They are destroyed by the physical manifestation of their own envy. Their own actions trigger their absolute destruction. As the bugs vanish, the magical roti speaks one final verdict. Sinners who cross limits are never forgiven. But what is truly fascinating here is how Sobuj and Rena react. They've been given everything, right? But they explicitly reject keeping the roti. They thank it for saving them from starvation, but they recognize that keeping an object of infinite wealth could eventually corrupt them. It could cause them to develop that very same greed that destroyed Suman. They actively choose their family bond over infinite corrupting power. Which leaves us with a pretty powerful, lingering question to think about today. When tested by the intense fires of hardship, is your family a source of strength or the architect of your downfall? This explainer beautifully strips away all the noise to show us that when starvation knocks, the people closest to you will either become your unbreakable shield or the very fire that burns you to the ground. It's a profound reminder to nurture loyalty, self-sacrifice, and genuine support in our own lives long before the ultimate test ever arrives. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this incredible story today and keep questioning what really holds your world together. See you next time.